Hey everyone, welcome back to Alyssa's Ozark home. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy that you guys are here today. In today's video, I'm going to take you along with me over a couple days of being productive around the house. I get some cleaning done, go to the creek down the road, run some errands, and I also set up a new fish tank for a beautiful betta fish. And I will be saying goodbye to my big 75-gallon fish tank and talk a little bit more about the reasons why I'm doing that. So if that sounds good to you, I'd love to have you stick around and enjoy the video today.
Countryside, the water, so I wait up here, I just let it know. I wait along the corridor, some would say they've seen me here before. Do we need to go this far?
I start every morning with animal duties. I always let our 3 dogs out to go potty, and then I make my way down to the chicken coop in the backyard and let our flock out for the day. My chickens put a big smile on my face every day, so I enjoy starting my day with them. Sometimes a rooster Kyle likes to attack me like he's doing here, so when he does that, I try to pick him up and hold him to show him that I am not his enemy. I'm his friend, and you don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? But after I'm done feeding the chickens and getting them all situated for the day, I'm gonna make my way back up to the house where our goat area is, and I'm gonna let our goats out to join the chickens for the day. After our animal chores are done, I go inside and get my daughter up and going. I make breakfast and just kind of enjoy our morning for a little bit, and then we always go back outside just to check on the chickens and all the animals to make sure that they're doing okay. And on this day, when we went to go check on the animals after our morning routine, we discovered an uninvited guest in our chicken coop, a big black snake. If you are scared of snakes and don't want to see this footage, I'll put a timestamp on the screen for you to skip to. That way you don't have to see the snake. But I had to get this snake out of here because I am extremely terrified of snakes. And on this day, my husband was working and had a very important phone call going on that he could not hang up from. So I had to put my big girl boots on. My very brave 9-year-old daughter helped me get the snake out of here. I have a snake grabber tool that's like 6 feet long, so I grabbed the snake and she held the lid open to this big tote to put the snake in, and we drove a little bit down the street and released him. I know that these snakes are not poisonous or bad snakes.
You see him pushing up?
And yeah, I know you're not supposed to technically release snakes too far away from their environment, but I don't want his environment being in my backyard near my chicken coop. And after we released the snake, we decided to drive a little bit further down the road to the creek just so we could de-stress a little bit from that whole situation. So the creek's actually really low because we haven't had rain in, my gosh, a very long time. I want to say it's been like 2 weeks or more since we've had a good rain. Normally it's fuller and you can play in it a little bit more. But it's kind of cold too, the water, and my daughter's not planning on swimming anyway today, but we just wanted to come down here and get some fresh air, enjoy the beautiful scenery. I love these early fall days when it's not like really hot outside and it's not super cold. The trees are starting to turn. It's beautiful. This is about like a mile up from our house, so it's not too far. Once we got back, I needed to clean our bathrooms. This is my daughter's bathroom / guest bathroom, and we also have our master bathroom, but I didn't film me cleaning both bathrooms today because that would be just too repetitive. When I clean the bathrooms, I always wipe down the surfaces, clean the mirrors, the sinks, and the toilets. As for our showers, I don't clean those every time I clean our bathroom. Our daughter bathes in the master bathroom because it's just bigger. The shower/tub in here is really narrow and kind of small. So we only use it to bathe our miniature schnauzer every week, and it doesn't really need to be cleaned out that often. As for the master shower/tub combo, I clean that while I'm in there showering about once a week, and then I clean our jets to our jacuzzi tub once a month by running a bleach and water solution through the jets. But if we were to have guests over, I would definitely clean the shower in here for our guests. I had to take a break from cleaning to run some errands. We had an appointment with our veterinarian for our dog Charlie. He needed to get his anal glands expressed a little more than what our groomer could do. And fun fact, I used to be a veterinary assistant and receptionist for a few years before I had my daughter. So I learned a lot about dogs and cats from that job, and I really loved working at a vet's office. After Charlie's appointment, we ran to Petco to check out their fish tanks that were 50% off. I actually sold our 75-gallon fish tank, so with the money I got from that, I wanted to buy a smaller, more manageable fish tank. Throughout the rest of this video, I'll be setting up the new fish tank in between doing chores and just typical homemaking stuff, so stay tuned if you also enjoy the aquarium hobby. But here's a before clip I took of my 75-gallon fish tank before I sold it. And here is what this same area looks like now after I moved my entry table on the wall where the big fish tank used to be. But now I'm going to unbox the fish tank to make sure there aren't any cracks, make sure the silicone looks good. I also do a little water test to make sure that it's going to hold water before I set everything up in it. This fish tank is a glass aquarium by the brand Aqueon that Petco sells. It comes with the fish tank, a foam pad for the bottom. It's kind of like a self-leveling pad, and it also comes with a glass top. I really love this fish tank and it looks so beautiful here. I have purchased the rimmed tanks before from Petco, but I just like the look of the rimless fish tanks. But now I'm just making sure that the table and the fish tank are level, because this table was actually not level here in our home, so I ended up having to put some like shimmies under the legs of the table to make sure that it was level. And to end our evening on this night, we decided to hop in the Pioneer and go for a little ride down the street where we can see a beautiful sunset. And we don't do this every single night, but we do enjoy getting on this Pioneer and getting some fresh air before it gets too cold in the wintertime and we're all cooped up in the house. So we're just trying to take advantage of the nice weather and just enjoy the area that we live in. It was such a beautiful evening on this night, so I had to capture this clip here of the cows grazing in the pasture and enjoying the sunset. It's the next day and we had a beautiful sunrise. I love the way the back of our property looks in the morning with the sunrise, and the chickens weren't quite ready to come out yet, so I'm just going to have my coffee and relax a little bit before I let them out. And thanks to the magic of editing, it's now a couple hours later, but you're seeing this right after my morning coffee. And now that my husband is up, I am going to make the bed and give our bedroom a quick dusting. I have to dust our furniture about every other day or so because of our pets and living out in the country. It just gets so dirty in our house, but this is why I don't have a lot of decor on our surfaces and our tables and nightstands. Having less things on my surfaces makes it easier and faster to clean them. Now I'm moving on to our front porch area. We have a screened-in porch and I love spending time out here, but it also gets really dirty with being, an outside porch. And since our dogs are always near us, the dog hair builds up out here too, so I'm going to wipe down the surfaces and sweep the porch. That way we can enjoy a nice clean space when we come out here to get some fresh air this evening. And it was already about noon by the time I got to this point in my day, and I really needed to just tidy up our kitchen after cooking breakfast and making lunch. I do like to do a midday kitchen cleanup. That way when it's time to cook dinner, I'm not cooking in a messy kitchen. So I'm just going to unload the dishes from being ran the night before, and I'm going to put the dishes from breakfast and lunch in the dishwasher, and then I'll wipe down the surfaces and just do a quick tidy of the rest of the house.
Headlights on the highway. If you only knew, being back here always makes me think of you. When the world is sleeping, do you think of me? With the road ahead's coming back again, coming back to me. I remember the long drives, the late nights in your car. I remember it all. Windows down, empty streets, you were all I used to know. You and I, forever, forever ago. And you used to drive me home. Now I drive alone. You and I, forever, forever, forever ago. This town's so quiet, this time of year. With the road ahead's coming back again, coming back to me. I remember the long drives, the late nights in your car. I remember it all. Windows down, empty streets, you were all I used to know. You and I, forever, forever ago. And you used to drive me home. Now I drive alone. You and I, forever, forever, forever
I love to make my house smell good, which you guys have seen in other videos. So today I'm going to light this Jamaican vanilla incense in my kitchen, and it just made my house smell like fall. But now I'm moving on to tidying up our living room. We had a few things laying around, nothing too crazy, and look how cute my little schnauzer is, just curled up on the couch with the blanket. I felt so bad for moving him to clean the couch, but he found another cozy spot, so he's okay. But I'm just going to use this Chom Chom lint roller to tidy up the couch, and it makes the couch look like it's been vacuumed when it hasn't. Obviously it doesn't do as thorough of a job as a vacuum would, but for in between deep cleanings I do like to use this lint roller on our furniture. And using the same duster as I did in my bedroom, I'm going to dust just the surfaces in our living room. And since filming this video, I have decluttered quite a bit of my fall stuff. So stay tuned for future videos and you'll see how minimal my house looks now. I don't know why I do this to myself. I put out all the fall things and then a couple weeks after I just get sick of it. And I did mention this earlier about having clear surfaces, making it easier to clean, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to declutter more of my fall table decor, because it's just, you have to move things around to dust and clean, and it is more time consuming. And after I got done dusting, I decided to vacuum really quick, just to vacuum up all the dust that fell to the floor. Plus, obviously we've got lots of dogs and we have a cat, so the dog hair and just pet hair can build up really fast in our house, so I have to keep up with the vacuuming.
Golden things, gold hair, gold rings, gold leaves, gold anything, golden. I'll follow only golden, golden, golden things. Ooh. Feet step over splinters of the moon.
Taking a break from cleaning, I decided to get this fish tank project started. So I'm working on painting what's going to be the outside of the back of the fish tank for a little background. I like to paint the backgrounds black for a few reasons, but mainly because it hides all of the cords from the equipment that a fish tank requires, like the heater and the filter and things like that. And in between coats, I decided to use a hair dryer to dry the coats of paint, so that way I can just move on to the next coat and not have to wait an hour or two in between. But I did about 3 coats of this black chalk paint.
I'll follow only golden.
So now that that's done, I'm going to mix the substrate together, and I'm going to mix some white sand and this fluval stratum. It's like a mineral rich, like dirt granules, I guess, and it's for planted fish tanks because I'm going to be adding some real plants in here. But I'm going to rinse the fluval stratum using a strainer just because it is very dirty, obviously, but I don't want all that dirt, excess dirt, just floating in the water column after I fill it up. So I'm just going to give it a quick rinse and mix it together with the sand. But now I'm moving on to putting all of the equipment in place. I like to do the equipment first because when I'm working on my hardscape, I try to hide the equipment with the hardscape, which you'll see here in a second. But for a Betta tank, I am just putting in a fish tank light, a heater, and a filter. That's pretty much all you need for a tank like this. After I got everything in place, I decided to go ahead and add the substrate in, and you can see that I kind of mixed it all together just to kind of create more of a natural look, because if you go to a river or a lake and you look at the sand, there's usually a mixture of sand and rock and dirt and things like that. So I wanted to create more of a natural environment for the betta fish. And I also had some driftwood left over from previous fish tanks in the garage. They haven't been waterlogged in a while, so they're probably going to float, and you'll see me kind of messing around with the 2 pieces of wood to kind of see what arrangement I like the best. And then I'm going to use some big, heavy river rocks to weigh the wood down. That way, when I fill it up with water, my wood and everything that I worked so hard to arrange doesn't get destroyed by the wood floating up to the surface. And over time, as the wood is in the water, it will become waterlogged, and it should stay down on its own without being weighed down by rocks and things like that. And since I'm using just regular old tap water from my sink, I'm going to dechlorinate the water by using some Sea-Chem Prime, and that is a water conditioner. And I'm also adding Sea-Chem Stability, which just adds beneficial bacteria to the fish tank. When you are starting up a new fish tank, it's important to cycle the tank and let the nitrogen cycle start doing its thing. And I also added some plant fertilizers just because, like I said, I'm going to be adding some real plants in this tank. And you can see here that it's really cloudy just from the new substrate and everything, but with the filter, it will clear up. So while we wait for the tank to clear up, we decided to go to Worlds Underwater. This is our local fish store in Fayetteville, in Northwest Arkansas, and it's an awesome fish store. So we needed to get some aquarium plants, take a look at their fish. They've got a lot of cool fish here, both saltwater and freshwater. and they've got lots of things for decorating your fish tank, lots of hardscape and driftwood options, rocks, and of course the equipment that you need for a fish tank and fish food. They got it all here. So I'll just share with you some clips that my daughter took while we were walking around the store. We are back home, so I'm going to take everything out of the bag and show you what I picked up from the fish store. I didn't get a ton of stuff because, like I've mentioned before, I've been in this hobby for a little while now and I had some things in the garage, but I wanted to use a sponge filter just because they're more gentle for betta fish. So I got a small sponge filter and I picked up a lot of aquarium plants that I'll show you here in a second when I get those out of the little pots they come in. And then I also got a check valve that's going to go on the tubing for the sponge filter. That way, if we ever had a power outage, which we do frequently during storms, the fish tank isn't going to back siphon out of the tubing and flood our house. So now I'm just taking out all of the plants that I got. These are Java fern plants. They are epiphytes, so they have a rhizome that doesn't need to be planted in the substrate. You can just attach them to rocks or driftwood, and I'll show you how I do that here in just a second. And I also got this Anubias nana here, and it's the same type of plant. It has a rhizome. I'm going to make my own arrangements on some rocks that I've had in the garage, and I'm going to use some cyanoacrylate super glue. It's just the gel Gorilla super glue, and I'm going to take each individual stem of the Java fern and attach it to the rock with the super glue. And I also use some thread to wrap around it as well, just to make sure that the Java fern stays in place and doesn't float in the water when I put it in the fish tank.
Walk up to the very top. We couldn't tell the sky from the ground. I know my life will never.
But here's everything all laid out. Since it's a small fish tank, I didn't need a ton of plants, but I have this large variety of Anubias. And then I have the Anubias nana here. I ended up just cutting one plant into two plants at the rhizome. And then here's all the Java fern bundles that I created with the rock. And I'm gonna place those just in the tank somewhere. Now here are some stem plants that I have. These you have to plant in the substrate. And since they're stem plants, they will get uprooted from my snails. So I ended up just leaving them in the plant weight bundle. And same thing for these plants here. They're called crypts, and they also have to be planted in the substrate.
And you are something I don't want to miss. The way you looked at me.
Now I'm moving on to modifying the sponge filter because I want to make sure that it puts out a nice gentle flow for the betta fish since they are so sensitive with their long fins. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking apart the sponge filter. It comes in 3 different pieces, and I'm going to remove the center part of the sponge filter by using a razor carefully and removing the spokes that hold a center tube in place. That way I can create a nice open center for an air stone that I'm going to put in this center part. As you can see, that little piece just pops out and it's now open in the middle for the air stone. And the reason why I want to do this is because sometimes these sponge filters will put out very large bubbles that can create a lot of water flow. And by adding an air stone, it just slows that down. And I'm also going to do the same thing for the top piece of the sponge filter. I'm going to remove the center part and cut out those spokes. That way it's open and I can put the airline tubing through it. So here is the air stone, and here is some airline tubing. You just attach it like that, and I'm going to put the sponge back on the sponge filter holder, pop the airline tubing and air stone in the center, and put the top on, and that's all you have to do. So it's really simple, even though it kind of seems complicated, but like I said, that way it's just nice and gentle for the betta fish. And I ended up putting the sponge filter in the center at the back of the fish tank, hidden behind the driftwood so you can't see the big bulky sponge filter. So for the plants, I ended up putting all those bundles of java fern that I created with the rock here in the center of the driftwood. And then the anubias, I also glued to another rock and put it here at the bottom of the fish tank, kind of in the center. And since I had 2 bundles of crypts, I decided to put one on each side towards the front of the fish tank. And for the rotala, it's the other stem plant that I had. I also had 2 bundles, so I put them in the back in hopes that as they grow taller, it will hide the heater and the equipment a little bit better. And for this large leaf anubias, I decided to put it at the top of the driftwood in the middle. That way the leaves are at the top of the surface, so if the betta gets tired, he can rest. And I just secured it to the back of the driftwood with some string and super glue. And here's a reminder of what our entryway looked like when I had the 75-gallon fish tank here. And here's what it looks like now that I've moved my table over here to put a smaller fish tank on. I still think it looks beautiful. I love having a fish tank, even if it's just a small little 14-gallon tank for a betta fish. I enjoyed my 75-gallon while I had it for almost 2 years, but it was a lot to maintain, and it just took a longer time to maintain, obviously, since there's more water volume. But I love keeping fish. I grew up in the aquarium hobby off and on throughout my childhood and teenage years, and we had betta fish a lot. And I just love this one that we chose. We got him from Petco. He has a beautiful bright red coloring, and he's very active and just thriving in this tank. So if you guys also like keeping fish and are in the aquarium hobby, let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what size fish tank you have, what kind of fish you keep or have kept in the past, and I'll just leave you with some clips of how the tank turned out. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it was kind of a random video, and I definitely wanted to include shots of me setting up a new fish tank because in future videos you would have seen that I had this tank and not the big one anymore. But I hope you guys are enjoying the rest of your week or weekend whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.